When I asked my friends, what should I see in Buenos Aires? Everyone kept telling me, La Recoleta Cemetery. What's so special about a cemetery? Why do I want to go see a bunch of graves? Well, it turns out the cemeteries here in Buenos Aires tell a much bigger story. Our unofficial Dia de los Muertos began in the famed La Recoleta, the premier cemetery in Buenos Aires, where the who's who come to spend eternity, including Argentina's beloved First Lady, Eva Peron, who you might know better as Evita. Hailed as one of the top 10 most beautiful cemeteries in the world, La Recoleta is definitely worthy of a visit. But what I learned is that just 7 kilometers away, there's another cemetery with an interesting and slightly unappreciated history of its own. Cementerio de la Chacarita is the largest in Argentina, but its humble beginnings weren't so grandiose. This cemetery owes its existence to the yellow fever epidemic of 1871. Cemeteries at the time were filled to capacity, and the upscale La Recoleta Cemetery refused to allow the burial victims of the epidemic. Students of the College of San Carlos stepped up to the plate and appropriated 12 acres of its campus for this purpose, which eventually became the new Chacarita Cemetery in 1887. 130 years later, and it's still living in the shadows of La Recoleta. Even though La Chacarita is 17 times as big, equally magnificent, and also home to former presidents, artists, and elite, it rarely makes a top 10 list and doesn't drive nearly as many tourists each year as its upscale neighbor La Recoleta.
¿Por qué es importante un video acerca de los cementerios?
She said, why is a video about cemeteries important? The reason is that most of us will end up spending more time here than anywhere else in our lives. We spend our whole lives looking for acceptance, seeking fulfillment, and ultimately just wanting to be good enough. The last thing I'd ever want in my final days is for a cemetery to tell me otherwise.